Hello, Reborn family. My name is Karen, and this is Making Reborn Dolls with Karen. We're back with Miranda. I keep wanting to call her Marissa, but this is Miranda. We didn't really do that much to her. All we did was crease her because she needed to have a bake to fix up this little problem on the side of her face with her sealer. It's all fixed up now, so we're ready to move on with her. I also put a sponge in her hand because her normal hand configuration was a little almost closed, and I wanted her a little bit open. Anyway, before we get too much into Miranda, I want to do a little more to Paisley. Paisley has had her last bake, and she is ready to get eyes and stuff like that. So we're going to go on and give her her eyes, and hopefully they're going to slide right in. And y'all not going to hear me say some colorful words because I can't get them in. Anyway, I'm just going to unstuff her head. I always stuff the head because baking can distort the head, and we want to keep it as close to the right, shape as it's supposed to be. And so that's what I did. I just stuffed it. And we can do little things like that to make our dolls keep their shape when they're baking. They don't always distort, but I've had it happen on several occasions, especially if you lay the head down to bake. I like to put the head in this position to bake, but sometimes, for some reason, their flange is a little crooked or something, and it won't sit good and it'll fall over. So I just lay them on the side. And when you lay them on the side like this, they start to do this. And inside, they're making a little peak in there, and then eventually that little peak starts to crack, and you get a fissure in the head. We really don't want that. And so I try to stuff the head to keep it from actually collapsing in. And so it works rather well. You just have to be careful how much polyfill you put in there. Too much and the head will swell because polyfill expands as it heats. So we're just going to slip these eyes right in those little slits we made, and they usually go right in. When you make the little slit around the edges, they just go right in. She takes 20mm eyes. Almost all of your dolls between 18 and 20 inches are going to take 20mm eyes. We'll position them exactly right after we get them in. Then I'm going to restuff her head for rooting. I find it's much easier to root a head if it's stuffed. It just keeps the head from collapsing so much. And look at those pretty green eyes. I gave her green eyes because I'm planning on using this really pretty, where'd I put that hair? This really, really pretty red hair on her. It's so pretty, I think. And I may mix it with a little blonde, or I actually might mix it with a little brown. And give her some kind of pretty auburn looking hair. But anyway, she's got her eyes now, so I'm just going to restuff her. Usually you don't even have to glue the eye sockets closed or anything. Some people do, some people don't. But the pressure from the polyfill that you put in the head presses really hard up against those little sockets, and it will keep the eyes from moving at all. Now, if somebody was very, very adamant about moving the eyes, they could. But most people don't poke around on their doll's eyes. But it is a safety measure to, well, not safety as far as somebody's going to get injured or anything, but, it keeps the eyes from moving. And there is always the possibility they could move. So some people glue them in. Paisley's going in my personal collection. I'm keeping her. I like her sculpt very much, and every time I've ever made a Paisley, I've sold it. So I never kept one, so I'm keeping this one. It's unlikely they're going to bring Paisley back, so this might be my last chance to get a Paisley. My clear glue is running out in my jar. I'll give Paisley her clear glue, and I'm going to put her on one of these. Well, okay. one of these tape rolls so she can sit upside down like this and let her glue dry. Free to do this. It's free. You don't have to try to figure out a way to make your doll stay in the position you want it in. It just stays. See how good she stays in that position? Anyway, I'm going to be putting her glue on her lips and on her rim. You don't need a lot. You just need a coating. It makes the lips look a little bit shiny, and it also gives them that little extra layer of a little bit of protection that will keep them from scratching or rubbing off. Any part of your doll that you can, just think about it in your mind. If you had a doll, or your child, let's say if you have a daughter, and you're imagining her playing with her doll, where does the doll get touched a really, really lot? Well, they're going to put a pacifier up against, especially a little girl is going to do it over and over and over again. And it's not the same. See, the pacifiers have got this little piece of felt or flannel or some soft material on it to keep it from having just that plain, hard, metallic magnet constantly being thrust up against the lips. It's not the same if you just put the pacifier on there and you leave it and you're not really touching it or moving it. It'll stay in place and it'll be just fine and nothing will happen. But when a little girl's playing with her doll, she's going to take that pacifier off, put it back on. She's going to maybe have a little spoon. She's pretending to feed it. You know, they do things that adults don't really do when they're interacting with their dolls. So we have to keep things in mind. Well, like I said, Paisley's mine. I'm not going to be doing any of those things. But we're talking about the average doll you're making to sell. We don't know who it's going to go to. And when we don't know what way we really need to protect it. One thing you don't want to happen, and would be very bad for you as an artist, is for somebody to get one of your dolls that looks fabulous, but it doesn't hold up. What a nightmare. Not only would they probably complain, but they might not buy another doll from me. You'll find that people who are collectors, if they buy a doll from you and they really like it, they'll come back and they'll be a repeat customer. I've had many repeat customers. In fact, I've had more of my sales have come from repeat customers than they have from new customers, because they already know what your doll looks like. They already know if they like it, if it's holding up, if the workmanship is pleasing to them. You know, they know all those things about your doll because they have one or two, let's say. And so when they're ready to buy another doll, they're going, let's see what she has, because, you know, I love her dolls. And that's what you want. You want somebody to be able to say, wow, she makes great dolls, you know. And what could happen after that? They could actually recommend you. Okay, here's Paisley with her little sponge in her hand. I put it back in for her last bake so it wouldn't curl back down. And now her hand is very open. See how open her hand is now? Before, this finger was almost touching her thumb. And now look at it. Nice and open. Now, if you want that little curl in the finger, you don't have to put the little sponge in her hand at all. But we're just going to put her glue on. We want it to have plenty of time to cure. I don't think that waiting a week is too long. I don't think it is at all. Because what you want is a good cure on your glue. Now, I'm not saying it's necessary to wait a week, but Paisley has to wait for her hair. I finally finished, who was that last doll I did? I don't remember. Presley, I think. I finally finished him, and I moved on to Alyssa now. But I just started her last night, so she's going to be a few days, And by then, this glue will be nice and cured. That's why I like to do it ahead of time like this. The earlier, the better. Like I said, there's no length of time that's too long to wait, really. We're impatient and we want our doll put together, but we need to wait the amount of time that we need to make every step right. If something needs to cure, well, it's worth the wait. You're going, oh, I'm so anxious. It's like when my little Maddox gets here. If he doesn't have glue on his rims, I'm going to glue him. And I'm going to wait 3 or 4 days before I put him together. Because you put all this work into your doll. You've done every step to the best of your ability. And then you're going to rush the glue. Not a good idea. We want every step to be as good as we can get it. I'm about out of Eileen's paper glaze. But the thing is I could probably do 2 or 3 more dolls with that amount of glue. When you get down this low, though, your glue is liable to dry out. And if it dries out in that jar, you're not getting it out. I can tell you that right now. It's not coming out because it's dry. This glue is very washable while it's still wet. You can take this to the sink and wash it out with soap and water. I'm not wasting that glue. I'm not. If it dries down there, it would be hard and permanent. It would be shiny and clear. You wouldn't even be able to see the whiteness of it anymore. And so I'm just going to keep using it until I either run out or it dries out. And then I will just pour some more glue on top of it. I don't ever mix the new glue with the old glue. This glue is globby now, but it still works. It's not garbage. You still use it. It's just very, very thick because, well, every time you open the jar, air gets in there. And what does the air do? It dries the glue. And this has a lot of space for air to be closed up in there even. And the air is going to cause the glue to get stickier and drier. Not stickier, really, but, thicker and globbier, and it's going to just dry eventually. But it does take a long time for that to happen. I always pour the entire jar, the entire bottle in there, mostly because you have a bottle of Eileen's paper glaze, and you're trying, I used to just take the top off and stick my paintbrush down in there, but you don't know exactly where it's coming to, and you're going, no, I didn't get any, no, I didn't get any, and then you plunge it down in there, and it's all up on the side of your paintbrush, and well, that's a waste. I don't like to waste anything because, as I've said many, many times, making dolls is not a cheap hobby at all. And we have to make everything last, use everything properly. If we do it responsibly like that, we're going to make a much bigger profit when we sell our doll. So I'm always pushing that. Cut corners where it doesn't matter. Okay, it does matter what kind of glue you use. Very much. Eileen's paper glaze, I don't know of any glue, and believe me, I've tried. I'll tell you some of the stories of things I've tried to make it cheaper than Eileen's paper glaze is. As you know, that little 2-ounce bottle of Eileen's paper glaze is about $7 and some change if it's not on sale. That's expensive to me. But I always used it because, well, nothing works like it does. But then I got this idea in my head, and I got it from being a little kid in school. Well, I didn't get the idea while I was in school, but I remembered back when I was a little kid in school. After you get finished with the grades where you have to use paste, paste is completely non-toxic. And Elmer's glue didn't used to be non-toxic. It is now, I think, but I don't think it used to be. But they make sure little kids have paste. Because believe it or not, there were some kids in my class that would eat their paste. You'd look over at them and they're just eating the paste. I'm going, what in the heck's wrong with you? My mother taught me from young, some things you don't put in your mouth, that she'd drum it in our heads every time. Like if she had to take medicine, she'd say, this is my medicine, it's for grown-up people. If a little kid takes it, it will kill them. And so, she every time we saw her taking medicine, she would bring home that idea that little children can't take this. It's not candy. It doesn't taste good. You don't want it in your mouth, you know. And we learned from a very young age that you just don't put that kind of stuff in your mouth. And glue, and also should teach us, you know, don't chew on your pencil, don't put your crayons in your mouth, you know. Little kids do that kind of thing. But my mother taught us. She actively taught us, don't do that. Don't put it in your mouth. It's not food. Food goes in your mouth. Medicine goes in your mouth. And one of the things she taught us is you don't take medicine unless a grown-up hands it to you. It's not something you just take because you want to. And but anyway, when you get up in a certain grade, I guess they figure you're not going to eat your paste anymore, and so they let you have Elmer's glue. And so we had Elmer's glue, and there was only one kind. They didn't have school glue and regular glue and wood glue. It was one kind. It was just called Elmer's glue. And a lot of the kids, and I don't really know why they'd do this. They thought it was fun, I guess. They'd squeeze the Elmer's glue on the palm of their hand and spread it out into like you would if you was putting a face mask on your face. You spread it out, you let it dry, you peel it off. They'd do that with the Elmer's glue on their hand. And they thought it was just super lots of fun to do it. And it was real white like this. And it dried clear, and you could peel it off in one piece that had even like if you put it on your fingers, you could actually get your fingerprint on it. And some of the kids would even put it on in layers, and where that it would be thick on their fingers. And I always thought it was kind of weird, but they did it. Anyway, that's what this glue kind of reminds me of, because it is white and it dries clear. So I got this idea one day. Elmer's glue, I wonder. So off to the store I went, and I bought a bottle of Elmer's glue, but I bought the clear. You know, they actually have some that's clear, you know, from the start. You don't have to wait for it to dry for it to be clear. And I thought, I bet it does the same thing. Okay, right on a doll it went. And what do you think happened? It dried. It looked the same. It looked absolutely every bit the same when you looked at it. Nice and shiny, clear, great finish. Okay, off to the races we go. Let's put a body on this doll. I waited the prescribed amount of time, 2 or 3 days, and on went the body. Next thing you know, it is actually stuck down in this ring. It won't turn. It won't do anything. And so I took the doll back apart. Now here I am peeling the body off of the rim. Oh my goodness, you know, it's just stuck. And I also got this idea one time. Oh yeah, I want Eileen's paper glaze down in this little crack. I want it here, and I want it here. Now, that's a lot of Eileen's paper glaze, I was thinking. Maybe there's an alternative to that. So I went to Walmart, and I was looking through some of their stuff on the craft aisle. And they have all those little apple barrel paints and all different kinds of things like that. And some of them say high gloss on them. I thought, high gloss, it's paint. Now this is regular paint. I bet nothing sticks to that, you know. So I painted the Eileen's paper glaze down in this little crack like you all automatically do. But I wanted it here and here too, but I wanted something cheaper. So I think 67 cents was what the little bottle of high gloss paint cost. And so here I go, painting it on. And the rim is white now. But this part is clear because I put the Eileen's paper glaze down in the crevice. So, okay, let's let it dry for a good while. I waited 3 or 4 days. Put the body on. What happened to that? It stuck too. I just learned all this stuff from experience because I'm a trier. I'm looking for that better way to do things. We're going to get started on Alyssa now. I'm calling her Alyssa. Miranda, the first thing we're going to do is I want to give her some blue on her forehead. So yeah, I decided, okay, I'm going to just do this particular thing. It doesn't work. Oh no, I want to vein her first. That's what I want to do first, is vein her. I'm going back to veins. For a long time, I wasn't doing veins at all, and now I want to go back to veining my dolls. I'm kind of liking the effect. Even though you can't see it on camera, I can see it plenty fine on Paisley, and it's looking good. I'm liking it. So I'm going to give her some veins, and now I've long been an advocate of making your doll just like you would make it if you were purposely going to leave it bald. Don't skip anything on the head part that you would normally do if the doll was going to be bald. Because sometimes there are actually things that are completely out of your control. You cannot help that it happened, and you cannot change that it happened. So you might come to a, a moment in your doll making journey where you can't root that doll, and you're going to have to let it be bald. So you're going to want the head as finished as every other part of the doll. Some people don't do some stuff to the head because, well, they're going to put hair on it. And I'm guilty of that myself. When I'm actually veining, I don't put veins on the head because what's the use? Hair's covering it. So I don't do it. So I'm going to repeat, do everything to the head that you would normally do to it if it was going to be bald. It's just a tiny little extra step to finish the head part too. Just finish it, because one day you're going to be glad you did. Because if you, I've seen people post in those doll groups. If you're not in any doll groups, you need to get any. They have Reborn doll, Reborn. Oh, I can't remember the exact names of them. For beginners, and then they have one that's for beginners and pros, and then they have just all different kinds. And people show their work. That's one of the things they do. A lot of people are so unsure about their work that they have to go, okay, I'm thinking she's finished. What else does she need? You know, and they do it all the time with every doll they make. And you can see their work. And some people actually do not even paint this part. They'll just have a completely blank vinyl head. They'll do it a little bit up there where when they're rooting, that part that could show a little bit is painted, but the bulk of the head is not even painted. Other people skip the lips and skip the nails and then do them last. I mean, you get to see what other people do. And I think it's odd to leave the whole head just blank vinyl. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But anyway, I'm going to put a vein on her similar to the vein I put on Paisley. But, you know, I'm going to put a little bit of a more elaborate vein on this doll because I'm going to try to make it come over closer to the temples and stuff like you would a normal veining. If you could see inside of your body, is not just, oh, there's a vein here and there's a vein. They're all connected. You have a super large artery coming out of your heart, but you also have veins coming back to your heart. You know, the arteries, if I'm understanding this correctly, and I know several of my reborning sisters are nurses, and they always correct me when I say it wrong. But the arteries are coming out of your heart and carrying the blood to your body, and the veins are bringing it back to the heart to be recirculated. I think I have that right. But it's all a network. It's not just here's a vein and here's a vein. They're all literally connected. They start with the bigger veins and they branch off and branch off and branch off. Like you have, I know your aorta is the biggest artery in your body. And then it branches off into arteries that come into your arms and arteries that go into your legs. And off of them, more branch off and more branch off. Well, the veins are the same way, except they're bringing it back. So something has to pick up that blood after it's lost all of its oxygen and whatever nutrition and stuff it's bringing to your body, and bring it back to the heart to be reoxygenated and all that so it can go back out again. So that's the veins. And the veins are the ones you see in sort of a bluish color. I don't think your arteries are that color. I'm not sure. Maybe they are. I know that at least this is what my mother told me. I don't really know if this is really true or not. Maybe it's just the color of the blood vessels. But My mother said your blood is actually blue until oxygen gets in it. And so I don't really know if that's true or not. But anyway, whatever. But I'm going to make a more elaborate vein that looks like it branches off more, and it will come down sort of to the side of her temples and stuff, and also be on her forehead a little bit. That's my favorite vein to put on a doll because it's always obvious on a baby. You can see it really good. I mean, I saw it on both of my babies, and I've seen on, like, you go up to the they used to, at least in older times, even the sick little babies would just be in incubators kind of over to the side. They didn't have a separate NICU. At least here they don't. We have a very small hospital. If a baby was, they don't even deliver babies here. You have to go to I mean, if it was an emergency, if you came in an ambulance and you were, the baby was just about to pop out, they would deliver it. But as a rule, they don't have obstetricians here, and they don't deliver babies here. But if it was an emergency, they would do it. But uh, they don't have a nursery in the hospital or a maternity ward or anything. So uh, our hospital's more like a first aid station. It's where you go for them to decide what hospital they're going to send you to. Or, and if you had major bleeding, they'd stop the bleeding and stuff like that. But they don't do normal types of surgery here. Like if you needed oh, I can't even think of one that would be non-emergency. Now, if you went in there and your appendix was about to burst, they'd probably do that surgery because, well, you might die on the way to the hospital. But if you had just a surgery that wasn't a super emergency, you're not getting it here. You're going to have to go to another city that's not, I don't even think they do it in Covington, which is the next city over. Uh, you'd have to go at least to Millington, maybe to Memphis to get it. And the other way, I think they do some not so major surgeries in Dyersburg, which is the next city that actually counts for a city. The rest of them just are 1 minute wide. You know, you just go through them real quick. They're like little towns, and they don't, they do surgery there. I think minor surgeries. But anyway, um, long story short, uh, whenever I've ever seen a little newborn baby, you could see their vein in their forehead right there and up here toward their head. So anyway, here we go. I'm going to get my squiggle way up here, and I'm going to make this one go all the way over here to her temple, like that. So you can see. I don't think I held it right where you could see it the last time. I sometimes watch my videos to see what you see. I couldn't see the vein at all, even before I smudged it. And now I'm going to put another little branch off of it that comes over here by this temple. And then off of those, I'm going to put some that come down on her forehead. And if it was to be that you could actually see up here where the veins come together, I would have been a little more careful in making them look a little more realistic. But I'm going to smudge these to the point where, well, the very tips of them are going to just disappear. And as I go up into the part that's going to show, I'll rub less hard and it will show a little bit more. And the whole idea of that is that you're not supposed to be able to see where the vein actually starts. It's going to fade, 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 gone, you know, like that. And we want it to be under the skin. I don't want elaborate, heavy stuff all over her face. And now I see it still plenty good. But if you see it, it should look very light, very dim, if you can even see it at all. And that's the way it should be. That's the generally accepted rule. I even heard a lady say, well, I didn't hear her because it's in one of those Facebook groups. But she said in her post, let's put it that way, she wrote it. If I take a picture of my dolls, and if I can see the vein in the picture, I work on it more. I think that's a little elaborate, but I just kind of know when I'm looking at the vein if it's going to show or not. And not every portion of the vein even shows. When I look at my hand right here, I can see vein, no vein, vein, and then over here, no vein, vein. They're skippy looking because part of it is deeper in your skin than other parts of it. I'm going to give her some eyebrows now. Now, see, she has a very pronounced brow ridge. You can see it really, really well. So you know exactly where to put her eyebrows. She has a tiny frown. And that kind of, if you go to the mirror and frown and stuff, make expressions, you'll see that your eyebrows look like they're moving around. They're in the same place on your skin. It's your skin that's moving around. But they can look lower if they're frowning. But I'm not going to put them super low. I am just going to sketch on some very, very soft little light colored eyebrows. Now, I am planning on, in the future, learning to root eyebrows. Can you see it? And when I do, this line will be my guide. I will just use it to root the eyebrows in the shape I want. When I watch other artists rooting eyebrows, that's what they do. They sketch them on real light first, and then they root over the top of it. So that's what I'm going to do. But for right now, when I don't know how to root eyebrows, I am just going to leave them like this. And these will serve as makeshift eyebrows until I do learn how to do that. You'd think as long as I've been doing dolls that I'd know these skills, but like I said in another video, I actually got complacent, I guess. I was satisfied with the level I was working at, and I didn't try to grow or change. I was just clipping along, making doll after doll after doll in the same fashion that I had normally been making them in. And I never got to the point where I really felt like learning to do things like rooting eyebrows was necessary. I have only been rooting hair for about, I'm going to say 1 year. It's a little over a year, I think. But I've been making dolls for many years. I penciled the hair on all the rest of the time. And while that may not be the most ideal, it does work. I'm going to put a little purple on her face. Now, I don't have a Miranda already. And if this purple that I'm going to put over here in these little crevices by her eyes makes her look angry or something, I may wipe it off because, like I said, you know, you can do things on a doll and not like it. And normally, I don't like to try to eradicate things. But if I had another kit, I would just, you know, go, okay, I'll just leave it. It's not perfect, but okay. But anyway, I'm going to be putting it, let me see if I can point to this where you can see it. If you look at her face, you can see she has an eyelid. She has this up here. And then there's this little crevice right here. It's like an indentation on her face. That's where I'm going to be putting the purple. It's going to highlight that little area and make her have a bit of an expression on her face. It's very light. It's not intended to look like it's purple, okay? It's intended to look like there's a shadow there. So we're shadowing that little area. It's darker, it's shadowy. Kind of looks like butterfly antennas, doesn't it? But now I'm going to dab it and make it less than what it is. Because even though we want it, we don't want it harsh. And even purple can look harsh. Now it's going to barely show, but the purple's kind of a magic color. I don't know. It has a dual. There's dual ways you can use it, and it almost works like magic. If you put it on first, you're going to get a shadowy little purple. I don't know. You should be able to tell it's a little different color there. Actually seeing purple, you don't really. But you can actually see that there's a little something different in that area. If you put it on first, it makes a shadowy little spot that when you put other paint on top, it's automatically going to be darker. So that's something right there all by itself. It's going to bring out certain little shadowy areas that you want to look, I don't really know how to describe it, different. And some people put it on the lips for that reason, because when you put another color on top of it, it's automatically darker. Then you can also put purple over colors. And what it does is it kind of, oh, it's hard to explain what it does. It changes it in a different way. Purple underneath is going to work differently than purple on top. And but they're both highlights, if you know what I mean. I don't really know how to explain it. It's very difficult to explain. But anyway, she has a little bit of purple. Purple is used very sparingly on your dolls. There are people who put purple washes on their doll, and I have done it before, and I just hated it because it gives the doll a kind of purple color. It kind of doesn't look right after that to me. It totally changes the whole outlook of your doll. And unless you like that effect, I suggest you put it on a practice kit first that you can actually strip. I have to grab a bottle of water. I'm just going around the corner and grabbing a bottle of water. I'll be right back. Getting water. Anyway, me getting up and walking over there to get water reminded me of something the other day that I saw in one of my videos. I like I said, a lot of times I take my tablet down and I put it back up, and my tablet will be in a slightly different position when I put it back up. Well, okay, I did that the other day, and I didn't realize the angle was the angle that I got. And I noticed when I got up and walked to the other side of the kitchen to get a drink. And I noticed, and it was embarrassing to me when I saw it, I noticed that you could see that I didn't have any shoes on. I said, oh no, my bare feet on camera. Okay, whatever. But I'm a barefoot person. Call me a hillbilly if you want to. I don't care. I don't take it as an insult. I'm fully aware that I live in a hillbilly town, in a hillbilly state, and I'm a hillbilly. And my mother was from Tennessee. Actually, Ripley, Tennessee, that's the city I live in. And she was from this city. She was born and raised in Ripley, Tennessee. Now, I'm going to do her lips and nails next, I think. Oh, I don't know. I haven't done her yellow or any of those other colors. Let me not jump ahead like that. I've decided I want to start back using yellow. Yellow is very pretty on your doll if you use it correctly. Now, if you're putting it all over your doll, I want to know why. I don't know why there are people who actually wash their entire kit down with a yellow wash. Why? What is the purpose in that? What does it do for your doll, do you think? Because to me, yellow is either for one of these two things. And one is if you wanted a brighter, say, a brighter color on your doll's face. Some people do that. I don't want to say highlight. It's not really a highlight. When you're using it that way, it's making the face a little bit just brighter. I don't know any other word for it. But it also mimics the look of fat. Anywhere on your doll, like if you had a really chubby doll kit, I'm going to use Pickle. If you've ever seen the Pickle kit, she's quite chubby. And I think 3-month Joseph would probably be, I've never made a 3-month Joseph, but I think he would probably be a little bit fat too. But anywhere your doll would be fat, yellow will make it look more like fat. So I put it right here on the face where those little pads of fat are coming down from the nose and going onto the cheek. A couple coats in this area will give your baby kind of I don't want to say a highlight, but it is. It's kind of a highlight. You also go across the bridge of the nose like this, not the actual bridge, but this middle part of the nose, where that's where the fat would be on the baby's nose. Babies have a little bit of fat on their face, and if you want it to show, you put yellow. It's very easy to do, and it's very pretty. If you could see this yellow on camera, a lot of the undertones and highlights that you put on a doll are not visible on camera because they're subtle. And subtle things don't usually show up on camera. We can see them in front of us, but if you're looking at her face, you're not really seeing the actual yellow color. You might can tell that in this area it's a little different, but you can't really see yellow. So you don't get to see how pretty it actually looks on the baby's face. I'm going to let that kind of dry a bit because we're going to come back and put a little bit more on her. Now on the arms and legs, I'm going to be highlighting the fingers and toes at the bottom of the foot. A lot of people put blue on the hands of their dolls too. I used to do it too. There's a little area in the palm of the hand. They call it a triangle. It kind of looks, let me see if I can see it better on Paisley's hand. Maybe. It's kind of like an upside down triangle. It's where those little lines meet, and sometimes you can actually see a visible triangle on their hand. Sometimes not. Oh, I'm touching her glue. Oh my goodness. But they blew that. I used to do it. And also they put a little swipe of blue on the back of their hands. Because on the back of their hands, once again, the skin is kind of thin there. But I don't usually do that because I don't know, I just don't. You know, I didn't vein her arms and legs either. I need to do that. I could have done this probably on the same step as I did the creases, but you know, I was all upset about that on her face and in her ear that I just didn't do it. And on the hand, I like to put, well, for sure, you put just one little squiggle coming down the wrist part like that. But then you can actually branch it off up here into the hand any elaborate or unelaborate way you want to. You don't have to, it's not required. You can even go further and bring them all the way down to the fingers if you want to. I'm pretty happy with it. At this level, we're going to rub it a little. We don't have to rub it a lot. You can actually leave them a little bolder than I usually leave them. That's strictly up to you. The darkness of your vein is largely determined by how hard you press down. Of course, the harder you press down, the darker it's going to be. That's something you learn as a kindergartner when you're coloring. You can color a picture by pressing down hard and the color will be very dark, or you can sort of just rub it across like that and it'll be very light. I'm also going to give her a little vein on her arm here. Not that it's anatomically correct, but when I place veins, I want to place them in a place where the person who's getting the doll can see them. There's little to no need to put one here because this part is going to be flat up against the body and you're not going to see it. So I'm going to put it right up in this area right here. I make it kind of big like that. I don't know if you can even see that. And then I rub it a bit. And then when the person is dressing their doll or whatever, they go, oh, it's got a vein, you know. I remember when I first started collecting dolls, I would just get so almost emotional when I see the dolls online and they look really cute, and I'd be scrolling through the pictures that they post and I'd be going, oh, look at that hand, you know. I'd just be almost giddy. I really was just it was my first experiences with Reborn dolls, and I just thought it was almost magical. And I'd be going, oh, look at that little vein and stuff like that. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's weird. I know, I'm a weird person. But I'm fully on board with being weird. I've been weird all my life, and I'm not about to change now. But anyway, they want to see them. People who like Reborn dolls, they want to see the little features. If the features don't show, or you don't at least get the illusion of the feature being there, why are we doing them? I like to put a little vein on the ankles on both sides because it's cute. That's the only reason I want it to show. And I'm going to put one up here on the thigh as well. Look how misshapen this flange is. It's okay. I could stuff this opening like that and it would go back to its original shape. As long as it'll hold the body on, I don't care if it's misshapen. Yeah, I want this to show, so I'm going to put one right here on the thigh. Now you can make them super squiggly. I just put a squiggle in mine, but you can make them really squiggly if you want to. Not necessary, but you can. Uh, the squiggliness, the branches, all that, the color you use. People actually use a more regular blue color than this as well. Uh, I like this color because I chose it because if you open up a little jar of the vein blue paint, it's a teal color almost. It's not actually blue, it's a bluish green. And so I decided when I was ready to buy pencils, I didn't really know what color I wanted. I just knew it was going to be a bluish color. So what did I do? I ordered about 10 different blue pencils. I ordered a big order of pencils. And when I wanted a color for capillaries, well, I did the same thing. Which color do I want? I freaking don't know. And then I decided I wanted colors that would be good for creases. I ordered purples. I ordered a lot of pencils. And this color that I am currently using for creases was one of the reds I ordered that I might capillary with. It's called henna. And so, yeah, I just ordered colors. I didn't know what color to get, so let's just get colors. And I ended up with a lot of pencils. They were very, very cost effective because they were only $1.29 each because I got more than 12. And I'm putting on the second coat of yellow. Not that you'll see it better, but I'll see it better, and people who buy the doll will be able to tell. It does leave that area of the face a little brighter. I don't know if you know what I mean by bright. It's just, okay, let's say you were making a dark-skinned baby, for example. The darker the skin, I think, the more the yellow does for it. If you were making a dark-skinned baby and you put a dark color all over the face, this part right here that I just put the yellow on would look a little bit, I'm not going to say muted, that's not the right word. It would be somewhat of a different, brighter shade of the same color you put on the rest of the face. Because if you notice when you look at babies, they do have a sort of brighter color on their face. And this is supposed to, I don't know if it would show up on a dark-skinned baby to look like fat. I don't know. But I know that on Caucasian babies, it does. It kind of looks like that area is puffier and fatter than it actually really is, if you know what I mean. Now, some of the dolls that have kind of fat-looking faces, Tessa is one of them. You can highlight all over that doll so good. My back is itching. Now, also, these little pads of fat on the back, see, that's supposed to be a roll of fat. But it's just not fat enough for me to go starting sloshing yellow all over my doll. Now, if they had big fat limbs, I mean super fat, and those were big rolls of fat, yeah, I would put it there because it just makes it look more like fat. I don't know, it just does. But, oh man, that jar is way back there. I have a separate little cannon jar. They're, mason jars like. And I put my paintbrushes in them. I have one for each color, and the brushes I use for that color are in that jar. That way I never wash my brushes. And there's dual reasons for that. One is washing your brushes is just very, very bad for them. When you are using your brush, now this is a heat set tip. This tip will not pertain to air dry artists at all. So when you're using your brushes, you're dipping them in a jar of paint that contains paint thinner. Paint thinner is a chemically compounded something. I don't really know what it really is. that thins your paint so that it's not too thick and globby. And it's getting your bristles all wet with that. Well, you use it and use it and use it and use it, and then you put it up. And it's pretty much like this when you put it up. It's not dripping or anything. But when you're washing your brushes, wash, 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 wipe off, wipe off. Anyway, you turn it up like this, you put it in your brush container, and what happens? The little remnants of paint thinner that's still in the brush is running down through this metal part, and it makes it all the way down. And you can see on this brush, if you could see good enough, that there's a little ring of a reddish color right around this grip. That means some paint with paint thinner in it has run down there. But this is just rubbery. It's like a piece of rubber. You can't tell because it's on the hard brush right now, and so it just feels hard. But in reality, it's a piece of rubber, and I can already see it has cracks in it because that's what paint thinner does. It's going to eat away, eventually, eat away at this little rubber grip. And then it's going to split to the point where it just falls off. And underneath it is just a thin, thin piece of paintbrush. And it's going into this little metal flange-like thing that holds it together. And once this falls off, this whole handle will either slip out of this paintbrush or it will break. I see you are. So that's why you're already sticking your brushes down in the paint to paint with. Why do more damage to them quicker by washing it out? I'm only going to use this brush for red anyway. So as long as you're sticking it in the same color, it doesn't hurt it a bit. In fact, it's more beneficial not to wash your brushes, because I put mine up and let them dry, and then I do this dry painting I'm fixing to do. I'm going to paint the fingers of this doll, and I'm not going to dunk this brush in any paint whatsoever. I'm just going to paint it. And see, it has paint, and it paints. And it works great. I'm painting just the fingers. That's the way I like to paint my dolls the best. Now you can paint any portion or no portion red on your doll's hands. It's strictly a preference. Now this paintbrush seems to have a lot of paint in it. I need to stop and dab this, so I want to see what color it's going to turn into when I finish dabbing it. That's good. Because if it's going to be harsh, I'm stopping right now and getting another brush. One time I had my paint too dark, and as I was painting the doll all over the skin, it wasn't making that much of a difference because I was immediately dabbing it. But when I was putting it on the fingers and the toes and stuff, it was just too harsh, and it made my doll way, way too red. And so that's why I was stopping to dab that. I wanted to see just how red was it going to be when I got finished dabbing it. We want to achieve the exact color we want, not some other color that we don't like. But anyway, this dry painting technique gives you a cleaner finish on your doll. Most of the time when you're trying to paint delicate areas like this, you're either getting too watery of paint that's not doing anything at all, or it's running, or it's too harsh, or it's something. So I like to do dry painting. I'm calling it that I invented this. I did finally notice somebody on the internet saying, oh, join so-and-so person for their dry painting techniques. Oh, okay, they stole it. I invented this one. I'm sorry. I'm not usually that adamant about something. I don't need some super recognition. I don't go online saying, look what I invented. I don't do that. But I discovered this quite by accident. I just needed to touch up a spot on a doll. And I grabbed a paintbrush that I had previously used. I was already not washing my paintbrushes at that point. But I grabbed up a paintbrush, and I was surprised that it wasn't completely dry and that it didn't have, that I could actually touch up that spot on the doll without dipping it. I was surprised, very surprised. And I'm going to use my magic brush on part of this because down in these crevices, I know pencil is not paint, but believe it or not, paint will stick to pencil too. And if it's sticking too much and making a harsh color, you want to get it out right away. Look at that pretty pinkness on her. Now the only problem here is the tip of that finger right there. Sometimes we have to just dab a little on there and don't dab it with the sponge, because if you do, it's not going to be pink at all. So we're going to leave that. And I'm going to go to her other hand. Yeah, I opened her hand up a little with a sponge because her fingers were much drippier than that. And I wanted a more open hand. Before I can bake her again and give her a sponge in her hand again, I'm going to have to let this paint kind of sit on the table. Or I could dry it a little bit with the air gun. I might do that. I haven't demonstrated the air gun in quite a while. It's noisy, yes, but it works very good. If you don't have air gun, I'm calling it an air gun, it's a heat gun. If you don't have a heat gun, you need to get one. I don't care if you're air dry or heat set. One of my air dry painting, reborning sisters, she uses a heat gun with her air dry. And when I say sisters, I don't mean we're blood related. I mean, I'm calling all of my reborning friends my sisters. I have quite a few of them. I'd like to consider every single person who watches any of my videos a sister, and I will. If you want to be part of the reborning family, we're kind of joining together as a reborn family. We're considering ourselves sisters, and we're going to share ideas, thoughts, techniques, encouragement, promoting each other's channels like a real family would do for each other, because we are a reborning family. And we're symbolizing our unity, our solidarity, our support for each other with a butterfly. You can use a butterfly you already have, or you can drop me a little message in my Facebook Messenger, and I will send you a butterfly. I have 45, I think, or 48, I can't remember. But until I run out, I will send butterflies to anyone who asks for one. The idea is we display it somewhere on our table. That way we see it and we know that that person immediately, even if you don't know the person, perhaps they're a member of my channel, a subscriber, but they're not of your channel. But you see a video of theirs and you see the butterfly on their table. Right away you know, oh, they're one of my reborning sisters. I'm going to drop her a message and say, hi, I'm a reborning sister too. I have a butterfly on my table as well. I'm going to support your channel. Would you please support my channel? And it should be, yes, I will. I'll subscribe to you. I'll watch some of your videos. I'll like, subscribe, and share. I'll drop you some comments. You know what it does for us? It helps us. It encourages us, and it shows solidarity, because we are a family. What we do is unique to Reborners. We are people who are saying to the world, yes, you might think we're weird because we like dolls. Dolls are for children. That's what my sister says, my real blood sister. But we know different, don't we? I'm going to put a little blue on the bottom of her foot. I should have done it before so it could be getting dry. But I'm going to do it right now. Anyway, you can see your sister is displaying her butterfly and you're displaying yours. And it shows us something about each other. We are sisters. So when your sister asks, hey, sister, will you show me how to root those eyebrows? She's our sister. We're going to show her. If she says, how did you achieve that technique on the nails or whatever? You know, you can ask her that. And she's going to tell you. We're not considering our techniques as well-guarded secrets. We're considering them as help for our sister. I like the idea that we are, yes, we're all in it to win it. We want to sell our dolls, but they want to sell their dolls too, just as bad as you want support from somebody. Wouldn't it be nice to know there's somebody you can drop a message to, and they'll answer you back actually, and they'll give you the advice you want, and they'll, sometimes, for me anyway, I just need a reality check. Sometimes things start to bother me, and I'm thinking, am I being petty, or is this real something to have bother you? I had a lady buy four. She actually bought 4 dolls from me, and I think that now I think that she just didn't like the price, because I was reducing some of my dolls that I was considering taking to the nursing home to give them one last chance to sell, because I take a lot of dolls to the nursing home as it is. Look at that cute little foot. And I needed some sales, so I reduced them. And she bought 2. She was going to buy 4, but then she said, oh no, my husband won't let me buy 4. He said I can only have 2. All right, well, I'm willing to give you a bigger discount if you buy 4 than I am if you buy 2. You understand that, right? So, okay, she bought the 2. A couple days later, I decided, okay, I'm going to reduce these dolls a little bit more. I need to sell them, and I need to sell them kind of quick, because I want to take the rest of them. I want to go on and donate the rest of them to the nursing home. I want to hurry up and do that. So I'm going to give them till, I think it was till the end of February. And so I reduced dolls, and 2 of them that I reduced was the other 2 she wanted to buy. So, okay. So she comes back with this. I'm going to buy 4 more dolls from you. Oh, okay, suddenly your husband's going to let you? Well, she didn't answer that message. But anyway, she said, what kind of price can you give me? I said, well, I can, and she wanted me to combine shipping, which means you have to combine the listings, because whatever way they're sold, eBay makes you mail them that way. If they're sold individually, they have to be mailed individually with a separate shipping price. So, okay. I said I can put 2 dolls to a box, and that's as many as I can get in there and safely get them to you. You just can't put too many dolls in there. The box will just break open or something. I don't have some extremely heavy-duty box that you can mail a refrigerator or something in that's that strong that you can just pile a bunch of heavy dolls in and mail them. Nor would it be a good idea if you could, because they could rub together and stuff. I don't know. It's just not a good idea. So I told her 2 dolls to a box. She said, okay. And so I put 2 dolls in one listing and 2 dolls in the other listing. And she said, what kind of discount can you give me, because I'm buying 4? I said, well, if you buy these first 2 for this price I have listed, I'll give you a discount on the second 2. So I made up the listing for the first 2. And she goes, well, where's the other 2? I want to buy them at the same time. Okay. So I made up the other listing. So what did she do? She didn't buy the first listing because it was more. She bought the second one only. And I go, wait a minute, what about the other one? Oh, I'm going to get them in a minute. Well, she never did. So anyway, underhanded from the beginning right there. So then I think she got to thinking about it. Those first 2 dolls I bought were much higher than these 2 dolls. I no longer want them dolls. They were too much. So she decided she was going to return them. So instead of just saying something to me about, I just think I should have got these dolls for, I might would have given her a little more of a discount. I don't know. But maybe I wouldn't have. I don't know. But she didn't give me a chance. She just opened up a case with eBay. And she said, oh, these dolls are not even reborns at all. They are fakes. They have certificates of authenticity. Oh, they don't belong to the doll. They belong to some other doll. No, they don't. Okay, I'm going to work on her face a little bit more now. Now that the yellow has had time to dry a bit, I'm going to put some pink on her ears. Not that I couldn't have pinked her ears before, because I could have. But I just wanted to save her face for last. Anyway, so she opened up this case with eBay saying, they're not as described. They're not real reborns. They don't even have rooted hair. They have glue put on their head and hair laid on top of it. Oh, such a ridiculous lie. Well, and what eBay said didn't make sense to me. They said, we can't be there to authenticate the dolls for you. We can't do that. We can't go, I'm comparing the doll to the the description and it looks like it's as described to me, we don't make those kind of judgments. We can't do it. There's no way. I wasn't there when you packed them up, so I don't know what you put in the box. And I wasn't there when she opened it up, so I don't know what she got. So obviously both stories are not true, and we cannot determine who is telling the truth. It's beyond the scope of what we can do. For one thing, we'd have to have incredible knowledge about reborns, and we don't have that. And basically, we'd have to have it about everything that gets sold on our site, because people are going to want those judgments for them too, and we just can't make them. And so we just put policies in place, and that does make sense. It's not eBay's fault, really, except that I just felt used and abused because they sided with the liar. And her first claim is they're not real reborns. Her second complaint was they're not as described in the pictures and the written description. Their hair isn't rooted, which was a lie. They are fake. They're not even, they're not even the dolls that she said that they are. Like, it was Martin. No, it wasn't Martin. It was Phineas and Carol. And it was Phineas and Carol. And but you'd have to take the doll off of the body to look at the rim to see that it said Reborn Phineas or Reborn Carol. And she said, the COAs don't even belong to these two dolls. They're fake COAs. She just sent COAs, and they don't belong to these dolls. So these aren't the real dolls. Okay. And then she said the thing about the hair not really being rooted, it was just glued on top of the head. She didn't even claim it was a wig. She claimed I just laid hair on top of the head and glued it down. What a ridiculous statement. I mean, anyway, her whole goal, and she had even said, I ordered 2 other dolls. She's talking about the 2 that she ordered in that second deal, and that she hadn't even gotten them yet. And she said, as soon as I get them, I'm not even going to open up the box. I'm going to return them as well. Well, she didn't. And I got to thinking, okay, well, what was her motive for returning those dolls? I think it was the price. She had gotten an incredible deal on those second 2 dolls because she cheated to get it. She was supposed to be buying 4, and that's why I gave her that discount. On 2, I would never have given her the discount. And so she cheated to get the dolls at a discount. And so she wasn't honest. And so she's lying about the thing about the description not being accurate and all that too. She's lying. So what is her goal here? And I fully expected to be getting the second 2 dolls back too, but she kept them. So evidently they were fine. They were basically the same. I don't remember which 2 they were. Oh, Reborn Jenny and Reborn June. Jenny and June. She must have liked them better or something, or the price was better or something, because she kept them. And so that's what I figured out just out of my own brain. She did it because she wanted the cheaper price. I offered to give her a partial refund, which I don't usually do. I don't usually do that at all. But I just didn't want to take them dolls back. But she would not entertain that thought at all. Okay, I'm going to pink her face a bit. If we don't pink her face a bit, when we rosy her cheeks, she's going to look super pale on the rest of her face. So just from the eyes down, I'm just going to brush a little bit of pink on her face and get her to the point where she won't be super pale when we paint the rest of her. And then we'll move on. Now, when we're painting anything onto the face of our doll, we want to make sure we're getting it inside the nose as well. Otherwise, you have a weird looking inside of the nose. This paintbrush barely has any paint on it. It might be a good thing because we don't want it dark on her face anyway. But I'm having trouble getting color on her face at all. I'm going to change brushes. Now this one's going to look way darker because I just took it out and it's full of paint. But we're going to pounce this around so she won't have, oh, she's got something on her face. I predict she's getting a baby scratch. I am not going back and trying to strip her and redo her sealer. I'm not doing that. Sealer on top is not going to work the same as sealer underneath, so I'm leaving it. This is one of those like your baby anyway things. I'm just going to give her a baby scratch probably. I don't give all my dolls baby scratches. I got real hooked on baby scratches there for a while because they're just so cute. But you can't give every doll a baby scratch. So now I try to save the baby scratches for boo-boos. I think that's what got people to putting special marks on their dolls anyway, was the fact that they had a boo-boo. And sometimes the boo-boo is right in the sealer. You can't see it. And the first few things you do to the doll, it's not even evident. And then you get to this certain point and it's evident. And you're going, okay, I've done all these things to the doll already, which is totally, totally wasted if I strip. I am not a stripper. I do once in a while strip, but I don't like doing it at all. And I certainly don't like doing it for a minor boo-boo. I'm going to probably just give her something over the top of it to make it not look like a boo-boo. And it's not that babies are super even in their skin tone anyway, especially if they're blushed. Blushing can be very uneven, especially if it's really chapped skin. You know, wind chapped. Newborns don't usually have wind chap, but a bigger baby might. Now that's a pretty good coat of color. I may not even reblush her later because it's sort of dark. I'm going to give her her little forehead thing. I didn't give her any blue, but oh well. Every doll doesn't have to have a bunch of blue on their forehead. You can make your dolls different. That's what I was talking about in that other video about carbon copy of anything. Just like if you're doing everything identical to every doll, they are different sculpts, but they have exactly the same things on them. If you like a particular enhancement, though, you might want to put it on every doll. She's got cute pink little ears. She's got pink on her face. She looks cute. Now, the only other thing that I think we can probably do on this step is I can do her nails and her lips. I am so, so thirsty. I have the doctor today and I'm supposed to get blood work. So I can't eat. So, you know, if you eat, your blood work will be askew. They always do it from a fasting state because if they don't do it that way, you can't count on the results being uniform. Or, you know, one time you might go and you ate a big old hamburger first and your cholesterol will be real high for a few hours after you eat that hamburger before it returns to its original, almost normal, what you'd call normal state. And the next time you might have ate cheesecake. So, you know, the different things you eat do different things to you. And so they always do it from a fasting state. And so she told me last time that this time she was going to do the blood work. Well, my real appointment's not today. I made a special appointment because I'm not feeling well. And I wanted to get a few little tests checked out to make sure I don't have any sort of a UTI or anything like that. Because sometimes they can make you feel real bad. You don't really have UTI symptoms, but you might have the UTI still, especially if you're prone to them like I am. And also the dizzy spells I've been having are just becoming more. And I want to find out if it is my blood sugar, you know. If my blood sugar's dipping too low, I need to know that. And if I eat before I go, I'm going to have a false blood sugar reading, I think. And she'll know it's from a fasting state, so they take that into account when they're looking at your sugar count. You know, yes, it's low, but you didn't eat, that's fine, but if it's severely low, it's abnormally low, they're going to know that because it's not supposed to be that low even from a fasting state, like that. So I have to not eat. And so I'm feeling dizzy and I'm feeling not so good. I can't point to this is what's wrong with me. I just can't do that. So that's why I need to go to the doctor. So I upped my appointment date to today so that I could go on and get checked out a little bit and find out if I need to do anything differently. I know what she's going to say mostly. For your blood sugar, you just have to eat more times a day. And that's true. I'm supposed to eat like 5 times a day. But when I'm taking these shots, I don't even want to eat 1 time a day. And she assured me that the shot itself would not make my blood sugar plummet to such a low level. I even questioned her about that. I'm hypoglycemic. Is that going to hurt me? She said, no, it doesn't work that way. Anyway, so we're working on that assumption anyway. So this is a pretty baby, I think. She has nice features. I like her features. She's cute. Anyway, so I'm going to go to the doctor and see if I can find out something. And I'm going to reevaluate my need for more shots because no, I'm not of course everybody wants to be skinny, Nobody wants to be fat. But I am a little bit fat. I was very fat. And I've lost, I want to say it's nearing 100 pounds. Because I was quite the chubby girl. And my goal was to get under 200 pounds, and I don't think I am. I haven't weighed myself. My scale weighs different from the doctor's. As a matter of fact, they used to have one of those official looking doctor scales out in the, they didn't have one in every room that you go into. It was kind of out in the area where they check you in. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. There's this little place where they can take your blood pressure and all that before they put you in the room, and they had a scale in there. It was one of those, where you push the little thing over, and it was real accurate. And but now they have just a regular scale, kind of similar to the one I have in my house, in each room. So they don't have to take everybody to that intake room. I think the problem was there's more than one doctor, and so they're checking people in so fast that the room's taken. You have to wait, So if they're doing it in your actual room that you're going to get examined in, several people can be checking in several people at a time. So anyway, that's what they did. They got those scales that sit just, they're flat. They sit on the floor. You just step on them, they're kind of like you have in your home. Anyway, they're not as accurate, I don't think. And depending on which room you get in, they actually weigh you different. I noticed that there was one room, when I get put in that room, I weigh less than I ever weighed. And so the very next month, you're in a different room, and it looks like you gained a bunch of weight. And you didn't. It's just the scale. But what I usually do is when I go in just for a shot, I don't even have to go to a doctor room. I just go to the lab, and a lab technician weighs me and gives me my shot, and I leave. And they have a scale in there too, so that scale's the one I'm counting on as being accurate. Now, your scale doesn't have to be completely accurate to measure your weight loss. All it really has to do is show that, well, I weighed this last month, and this month I weigh this, And it's okay, because it's only weighing the difference in your weight, really. It doesn't really matter if it's a pound or 2 off that way, because you're weighing on the same scale every time. But that's the one I like to be weighed on. But when I actually go to the doctor, I don't get weighed on that scale. I get weighed on the one in whatever room I go to. And it can be different. So what I usually do is when I go to get my shot, they'll they'll weigh me, give me my shot. I come home. I immediately get on my scale to see what I weigh on that, because I know it's a few pounds off. And that way I can go, okay, I weighed 215 on their scale, and I weigh 218 on my scale. That's about right. And so then I'll remember 218, and then throughout the month, if I want to weigh myself at home, I just automatically know that at the doctor I'm going to weigh 2 to 3 pounds less. So, I don't know if any of that even makes sense, but it does in my brain. But anyway, it is what it is. Anyway, it's the doctor today. I was hoping, sometimes they get samples of Wegovy. That's what I'm taking. Well, it's GLP-1. It could be Wegovy or Ozempic. They're the same thing. They just market them different because one's for weight loss and one's for diabetes. But sometimes they get samples from the drug rep, and my doctor actually told me she takes the samples. She takes them. She doesn't leave them in the refrigerator for other doctors to prescribe any or to hand any of them out. They have to be refrigerated. She'll take them out of the refrigerator and take them home and put them in her refrigerator, because she said, I don't ever get any for my patients if I don't do it that way. I want my patients to get it. And so she told me one time, oh, I'll get you some of that. I have it at home. Well, she didn't have it after all. She told me, yeah, I looked, I don't have any. But I was hoping when I go, they have some samples. She said at the end of the year, the drug reps are running out even. And so they have to wait till the beginning of the year to get more samples. So she said the samples are way more often at the beginning of the year. Well, I forgot to ask her in January, so here we are in February, and I'm going to ask her for samples, because then I can stay home, not go to the doctor, and give myself a shot. And it's very simple. You don't have to draw it up or anything. It's in pre-measured little needles, I guess. I don't know. But they're different from the kind that you would, if you drew it up in a syringe like that. You just press it against your skin, and the needle pops down and injects you with the shot. It's real easy to give. There's nothing to have to know. Not that I can't give a shot anyway, because I used to always give my dogs all their shots but their rabies, because it was cheaper. And when my husband had to have surgery on his leg, and because he couldn't walk or anything, he was high risk for a blood clot, so he had to get a shot every day of blood thinner for 30 days. And I had to give it to him because he was too squeamish to give it to himself. So, yeah, I already know how to give shots real good. I'm not a nurse or anything, but I know how to do it. Anyway, we're going to get this cute little baby. She's going to make an adorable little baby. We're going to get her back in the oven and get her a bake. And we're going to just see how pretty we can make her. She is pretty. I love her features. She's going to make a pretty baby. Now, I don't ever remember seeing Miranda asleep before. I one time had a Miranda awake, and I didn't like her awake kid. Her eyes looked real funny, and I made her, but I didn't like her. But I'm liking this sleeping kid a lot, and I just can't hardly wait. I wonder what that is on her rim right there. That looks like mold. You ever have something like that on a doll? Look at that. Can y'all see that? I really don't know what it is, but I am absolutely going to do something about it right now. I'm going to get a rag, and if it's mold, it's unlikely that alcohol is going to take it off. But if it's just something else like dirt or something, the alcohol will probably take it off. I'm just going to be very careful and dry my fingers right off here. And I'm going to try to, well, my fingers still feel a little bit wet. Here we go. it's coming off, but it's taking a little bit of elbow grease to get it off. But by doing this, I'm hoping that if it is some kind of mold, it won't spread. I got this kit from an individual, and we have to be very careful. I'm going to wet another area of this rag. We have to be very careful buying kits from individuals. Many times they won't have the COA. I believe Miranda was the one that lady said, "What's the big deal? You got a kit," you know. She was just very, very rude. She did not tell me that there was no COA. So I ordered the kit and I paid for it, and I believe it was Miranda. It could have been a different kit, but I don't think it was. But anyway, she mailed the kit. I got it, no COA. So I got in touch with her and I said, did she not have a COA? And she said, if there wasn't one in the box, I probably don't have one. And I said, really? Because, I mean, she wasn't real expensive, but that's not the point. When you order a kit that should have a COA, you're expecting to get a COA. And then when you don't get one, and they didn't disclose that you weren't going to get one, that's not right. And I said, don't you think you should have told me ahead of time I wasn't going to get a COA? And she goes, it's just a Bountiful Baby kit. What's the big deal? Like, because it's Bountiful Baby, it doesn't really, it's just no good or something. And you shouldn't really expect a COA. Well, I could have sent the doll back, but I wanted her kit. So I said, well, okay, I'm going to make her anyway. I'm going to keep her. But I just thought it was just, you know, it came off. Every bit of it came off. But like I said, I had to use some elbow grease. And hopefully, if that was some remnants, I'm going to look at the rest of her rims as well. This one looks okay. You know, sometimes people don't store their kits in ways that keep them, you know, pristine. And when I say pristine, I just mean new condition, you know, where they look the same as they would if you bought them from Bountiful Baby. But it's likely she didn't even know that was on there, but still, it's just the idea. You know, people say, yeah, it's like new, and then you get it and it's not. It's like, okay, it's largely like new, but there's this and this and this, you know. And you feel a little bit cheated because, well, it was not as promised, especially if you paid a lot for the kit. I've bought kits of sold out limited edition dolls that I wanted really, really bad and paid a lot of money for them. And then when you get them, and if they're not right, you're going, look at all the money I paid for that kit. I paid $99 for a kit one time. And it was, I can't remember if it was Charlotte or Naomi. But they're long sold out kits. And at that price, they ought to paint theirself. I mean, come on, they're expensive. But, you know, you buy them because you want them. And then when you find out, oh, it doesn't have a COA, or oh, it doesn't have this, or whatever, you're feeling like you got cheated because they didn't disclose. You know, if you're going to sell a kit, even if the limbs that you put with it are full limbs of another real born doll, if it's not going to have its original limbs, you need to tell people this doll has alternate limbs, so that they can know that they're, because some people are expecting to get the original limbs. Like, let's say, for example, I liked this particular doll because I liked her limbs. And I saw it advertised, all painted and pretty, but she didn't show much of the limbs. And so you're going, oh, but she has such nice limbs and she's so cute. And then you get her and she's got some other doll's limbs that aren't so nice. And you're going, oh, this isn't right. I feel cheated. So you don't want to make any of your customers feel that way. In fact, we want to make them feel wow, you know, when they get their doll. It's sort of a presentation. You're not just sending them a doll, you're sending them an experience. And when they open up their doll, they need to feel their experience, so to speak. Their experience is either good or it's bad. Now, if all they want is a cheap doll, people who buy cheap dolls, we're talking $100 or less, let's say. There's actually a site, it's a doll group, but it's for selling dolls. And it's called Reborn Dolls Under $100. That's the name of it. You buy one from there, I say anything goes. You might get mixed limbs even. You might get one doll's arms and a totally different other doll's legs. You might get one arm from this doll, one arm from that doll. You know, you just don't know what you're getting. They're so cheap that I don't know if it's even right to expect any certain thing from them. I don't know. I don't know that it's wrong really, but you know what I mean. But when you're paying full price for a doll, and full price would be asking price on a regular doll site, you know. Asking price might be $300 or $400 or $250 or whatever. But if you're paying their asking price with no discounts, coupons, free shipping, combination stuff, you're just paying regular price. You expect that doll to be right. I mean, we really should expect it all the time. But most people expect less if it's real cheap, you know. But anyway, enough said. I've already went, an hour and a half because we did some on Paisley first. But anyway, we're going to get this cute little baby back in the oven and get her baked again. And when we come back, I think we might be ready for some layers already. But anyway, please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and happy reborning.